so AGI, right. Artificial General Intelligence. It seems like it's everywhere you turn these days. Everyone's talking about it, but it feels like there's a lot of hype mixed in with the actual breakthroughs. What's real and what's still science fiction? You've asked us to break it down, and that's exactly what this deep dive is all about. We've gone straight to the source academic papers, industry reports, even opinions from some of the biggest names in the field, all to give you the clearest picture of AGI, what it means, how we might get there, and what it could mean for all of us. And of course, we've got our expert here to help us sift through it all.
And I think the first thing we need to do is clarify what AGI isn't.
Exactly.
It's not just about making our current AI smarter or more efficient.
It's not just about, like, giving Siri a bigger vocabulary.
Right. AGI represents a totally different way of thinking about machine intelligence altogether. It's about creating systems that possess the same kind of general intelligence that humans do.
So not just specialists in one area like we see with a lot of AI today.
Exactly. One of the papers we looked at, PDF, Artificial General Intelligence, Concept, State-of-the-Art, and Future Prospects, really drove this point home. It made a very clear distinction between what it called narrow AI, which is essentially what we have now, and AGI.
Okay, so that's a really important distinction. Narrow AI is like a chess-playing program or a medical diagnosis tool, incredibly good at one specific thing.
Right, but AGI aims to be more like a human being, capable of learning and adapting to a whole range of tasks and situations.
So how do we even begin to build something that complex? I mean, the human brain is still largely a mystery, right? Our research turned up a bunch of different approaches, everything from symbolic AI and connectionist AI to, get this, attempts to simulate consciousness itself.
It's a bit like we're all standing at the foot of this massive mountain, and everyone's got a different idea about how to reach the top, how to reach AGI.
I like that analogy.
Some are meticulously designing elaborate staircases, step by step, using logic and rules as their building blocks. That's your symbolic AI. Others are taking a more, shall we say, adventurous approach.
Okay, going full free climber on this thing.
Exactly. They're scaling the sheer cliff face, relying on artificial neural networks that learn from massive amounts of data, much like our brains do. That's the connectionist AI approach.
And then you have those who are searching for a shortcut, a secret passage, a teleportation device, anything to bypass the climb altogether.
They're looking for that instant breakthrough, the key to replicating human consciousness artificially.
Okay, I'm already seeing some potential issues with all of these approaches. Staircases can crumble, cliffs are inherently dangerous, and teleportation. Well, let's just say that technology hasn't quite caught up with that one yet. So realistically, what are we looking at here? What makes this climb so challenging?
We've hit on a crucial point. Each of these approaches comes with its own set of unique hurdles. Symbolic AI, for all its reliance on logic and order, often stumbles when faced with the messiness of real-world situations.
The unexpected, the unpredictable.
Exactly. Things that humans are able to navigate almost intuitively.
And then there's connectionist AI, fantastic at learning from data, but sometimes it feels like we're trying to understand the inner workings of a black box.
Right. We can feed it tons of information, and it can produce amazing results, but explaining how it actually got there, how it made its decisions, that's still a major challenge.
And don't even get me started on consciousness. I mean, we can't even agree on a single definition for it, let alone figure out how to replicate it.
It's true. Trying to create something that we don't fully understand is ambitious, to say the least.
It really makes you think, though. Let's say, hypothetically, we do manage to crack code and achieve AGI. How would we even recognize it? What does that look like? How do you measure something as complex and multifaceted as general intelligence?
It's a question that keeps a lot of researchers up at night. Turns out even defining human-level intelligence is a lot harder than it sounds.
It's not just about acing a standardized test, right?
Right. It's about understanding, adapting, creating. It's about navigating a world of nuance and uncertainty.
So how do we even begin to measure that in a machine?
Well, some researchers believe we need to move beyond traditional benchmarks and start thinking about intelligence in a broader sense.
Not just can it solve for X, but can it understand what X represents in the real world?
Exactly. One of the papers actually proposed a rather intriguing test.
Oh, tell me more.
They called it the coffee test.
The coffee test.
Yes. Essentially, the idea is that an AGI should be able to walk into a typical kitchen, a completely unfamiliar environment, and figure out how to make a cup of coffee.
Okay, I have to admit, that sounds a lot simpler than I was expecting.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But when you really break it down, it requires a level of common sense reasoning and problem solving that AI currently struggles with. It really highlights the amazing complexity of what we consider simple tasks, doesn't it?
Yeah, we don't even think about it, do we? We just walk into the kitchen, see the coffee maker, and instinctively know what to do.
Exactly. We assess the situation, we identify the tools we need, the steps involved.
And we do it all without even realizing how much processing power is going on behind the scenes.
And that actually brings up another fascinating aspect of AGI research, the concept of embodied cognition.
Okay, I've heard of that. It's the idea that true intelligence needs a body, right? It can't just exist in a virtual vacuum.
Right. It's not enough to simply build a supercomputer. Some experts believe that true AGI needs a physical presence in the world, a body that allows it to interact and learn through direct experience.
So, like a robot?
Well, yes. In fact, one of the papers we looked at talked about the iCub humanoid robot. It's a great example of this idea of embodied cognition in action.
Oh, I've seen pictures of iCub. It's the one that looks kind of like a little kid, right?
That's the one. And instead of just being fed lines of code about how to do things, iCub learns through physical interaction, much like a human child would.
So, like, actually grasping objects, navigating its environment.
Exactly. Bumping into things, making mistakes, and learning from those experiences.
It almost seems counterintuitive. We're so used to thinking about AI in terms of algorithms and processing power, but this is almost like taking a step back, letting the learning emerge from more basic physical interactions.
That's the beauty of embodied cognition. It challenges us to think about intelligence not just as computational power, but as the dynamic interplay between a physical being and its environment.
It's fascinating, but also a little bit humbling, isn't it? We tend to think we're so advanced, but nature figured this out a long time ago.
It's true. There's still so much we don't know about intelligence, both artificial and natural.
Which brings us to another big question, maybe the biggest one. What happens if we do achieve AGI? What are the implications for, well, everything?
It's the question everyone's asking, and rightfully so. AGI has the potential to reshape our world in profound ways, both positive and potentially negative.
And one of the biggest concerns, obviously, is the impact on the job market. If machines become capable of performing tasks across various professions, what does that mean for the future of work?
It's a valid concern, absolutely. And it's not about downplaying the potential for disruption. Some experts predict that AGI could lead to the automation of millions of jobs,
Hmm.
particularly those that are repetitive or rule-based.
And it's not just blue-collar jobs, right? We're already seeing AI being used in fields like law and medicine.
Exactly. So it's not just about manual labor being replaced, it's also about the potential for AI to outperform humans in tasks that require specialized knowledge and expertise.
So what do we do? I mean, we can't just stop progress.
No, of course not. The key is to approach this transition thoughtfully. Instead of fearing displacement, we need to focus on adaptation.
Equipping people with the skills they need to thrive in an AGI-driven world.
Exactly. It's about fostering creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, those uniquely human skills that are going to be more valuable than ever.
So it's not just about learning new technical skills. It's about cultivating those inherently human qualities that will set us apart in a world where machines can increasingly mimic our cognitive abilities.
Absolutely. It's about things like empathy, creativity, critical thinking, ethical decision-making. Those are the areas where humans will continue to excel, even as AI becomes more sophisticated.
And that actually brings me to another point that came up quite a bit in our research. The ethical implications of AGI. We can't just focus on what's technically possible. We have to consider the potential consequences, both intended and unintended.
It's not enough to simply build powerful AI systems. We have to ensure they're aligned with human values.
And that we can control them.
Right. Because once we create something that can outthink us, how do we ensure it doesn't act against our interests?
Okay, that's a slightly terrifying thought.
It's a valid concern, and it's why a lot of researchers are calling for a focus on AI safety and ethics.
So not just building a better machine, but building a better future alongside that machine.
Exactly. It's about thinking about the long-term consequences of our actions today and ensuring that AGI is developed responsibly and for the benefit of all humankind.
This whole conversation has been incredibly eye-opening. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of a really complex and rapidly evolving field.
And that's really the point we wanted to make with this deep dive. AGI isn't some distant, futuristic concept. It's something that's being actively developed right now, and its impact will be felt by all of us, sooner or later.
It's like we're standing on the edge of something truly transformative, something that has the potential to reshape our world in ways we can't even fully comprehend yet.
And that's why it's so important to have these conversations now, to demystify AGI, to separate fact from fiction, and to encourage critical thinking about the future we want to create.
To empower ourselves to make informed decisions, not just as individuals, but as a society.
Exactly. Because the future of AGI isn't predetermined. It's something we all have a stake in shaping.
Well said. A huge thank you to our expert for lending their incredible knowledge to this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of AGI. Keep those questions coming, keep exploring, keep learning. And as always, we'll be here to guide you every step of the way.